Hi, it's the M.L.M for the Soul channel. I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I just would like to say, may the words and expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance before you, Hashem. So people I thank have inspired me. I hope they can inspire you as well. And I will have links below this video to their sites. They are Rabbi Shalom Arush, Rabbi Lazer Brody, Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, Rabbi Eli Mansour, Rabbi Alon Anava, Rabbi Yuval Ovadia, Rav Daniel Asor, Nisan Baruch Black, David Sachs, Rabbi Michael Skobek, Jews for Judaism, Rabbi David Asher, and Rabbi Yeshurun Reuven. As well, if you've never checked out this channel before, I will have a link right below this video to my first video, which explains what M.L.M for the soul means, what it stands for, what I'm doing. So today's topic is an important one, as they all really are, when we're trying to do right and get closer to Hashem. So this is from, I get these emails from someone who calls himself Ben Olam Haba. It's actually halachos, which are supposed to be something that you do. There's something that says that if you learn 2 halachos a day, you're guaranteed Olam Haba. So this gentleman who's doing it had an interesting topic. One of them was on the halachos of midvar sheker tirchak. That means from things that are lies you should stay away from. So this is an excerpt he had from a larger essay that was written approximately 30 years ago by HaRav Shimon, Schwab, Zatzal, the Rav of Kehal, Adat, Yeshurun. And it said, he wrote here that it's worthwhile for every Jew to read and internalize its words and its message, and also to teach it in the schools and at the Shabbat table as well. And I don't have the larger essay, but I actually maybe contact him to get the larger essay. It'd be very interesting to read this. So this is some really strong Mussar, so here goes. Every form of Chillul Hashem lowers the awareness of the divine presence in the world. But if the desecrator happens to be a professed Torah observer, or even worse, a so-called scholar of the Torah, then the Chillul Hashem not only weakens the respect for Torah on one hand, but strengthens on the other hand the defiance of the non-religious insurrection all around. So that's the problem. When you profess to be something and then you're doing the opposite of what you're supposed to, that's worse. So better to not, right? So the Almighty has little patience for those involved in actions that degrade His His holy name. He who, and this is from Yoma, the next one is from Yoma 86. He who has committed Chillul Hashem, even Teshuvah, Yom Kippur, and suffering, cannot fully atone for his sin until the day of his death. That's something we know about Chillul Hashem. So you want to not do that as much as you can. You know, like you say, if you dress in quote-unquote costume of a religious person, don't be going somewhere and doing something that you shouldn't be doing, because that leaves a bad name, and that's desecrating the name of Hashem. From Kiddushin 40, better to commit a sin in secrecy than to commit Chillul Hashem in public. That's just kind of what I said. You know, better not wear your costume. Put something else on, look like a regular person. Next one is from also Kiddushin 40. There is no delay in the divine punishment for Chillul Hashem, whether committed knowingly or unknowingly. Next is from Tosefta, Baba Kama 10. If one steals from a non-Jew, swears falsely, and dies, his death is no atonement for his sin because of Chillul Hashem. Again, people think they could steal from a non-Jew, you're not allowed to steal from anyone. Okay, from Avos 4. He who desecrates the name of heaven in secrecy is punished in public. So meaning if you're hiding and doing it and think you get away with it, you're going to be punished and it's going to be more broadcast. Other people will know about it. From Sifri Ha'azinu. All sins are forgiven by Hashem, but Chillul Hashem, He punishes immediately. Next is some other things. I don't know if these have a source for them, but I'm just going to continue reading this from his essay. So tragically, this is actually this is his writing, not the other sourced information. Tragically, the Chillul Hashem wrought by the unfolding horrific happenings of our day is a scenario that does not stand isolated. Some perpetrators of Chillul Hashem are making the headlines of our daily newspaper. That's also not a good thing, because then more people are hearing about it and seeing it, and it's broadcast more widely. So certainly we are not sitting in judgment of the persons who are publicly accused. However, be it as it may, the Chillul Hashem is there in the worst possible way. Quote, Rabbi so-and-so who sits in court with his velvet yarmulke in full view of the television audience composed of millions of viewers is accused of having ruthlessly enriched himself at the expense of others, flaunting the laws of Hashem and man, exploiting, conniving, and manipulating. In short, desecrating all the fundamentals of Torah Judaism. So again, you know, people have desires for things, and that's the problem, is that you continue to go after it, and the Yetzer Hara keeps kind of influencing you and getting you to do more, and you figure, oh, I want to, I'm enjoying myself, I'm just going to keep going, right? And that's not a good thing. Woe to us and woe to what has ensued as a result of the disgraceful blemish placed upon us by the actions of a few. So the many suffer because of the few. That's what happens. While it's obvious that the vast majority of loyal and observant Torah Jews deal honestly and correctly with their fellow man, a very small minority of criminal perpetrators suffices to cast sinister aspersions on all Orthodox Jews and what is worth on Orthodox Judaism as a way of life. I actually like to use the word Torah observant. I don't like the word Orthodox. I prefer personally not to use that, just so you know. The Chillul Hashem of a few individuals provides excuses for the doubter and encourages the desecration of Torah learning, Torah education, and Torah influence. Basically, that's why a lot of secular Jews are turned off to Torah Judaism or Torah observant Judaism, because they see what religious people are doing that are making a Chillul Hashem. So they figure, if that's what Judaism is, I'm not going to do it. But that's not what Judaism is. We have to remember, it's not what the people. It's not the people that make the Judaism. It's what we know, what Hashem brought us to us from the Torah. To defraud and exploit our fellow man, Jew or Gentile, to conspire, to betray the government, to associate with underworld elements, all those are hideous crimes by themselves. Yet to the outrage committed, there is added another dimension, namely the profanation of all that is supposed to be held sacred by us, as well as in their heart of hearts by the perpetrators themselves. What a sorry picture this is. So, wow, this is strong Mussar from Rabbi Schwab. So meaning, that you're doing this, and these people are supposed to be religious, and they are creating this around them. They're profaning the name of Hashem. Suppose I have cheated my neighbor or my government, and then I stand in the midst of a congregation of honest and decent men and women to recite the Kaddish, which is the prayer for Kiddush Hashem in the world. What audacity, what a shame. Can there be a worse contradiction than the strict Shabbos observer, who may also be a stickler for kashrus, and who at the same time violates the spirit of Shabbos and kashrus during the week with non-kosher money manipulation? So there you go. You're standing up to say Kaddish, but yet you're just being dishonest, and then you're strict with your kashrus, but yet you manipulate people with your money and lying and cheating or whatever you're doing. So the two don't equate. It's hypocritical, and it's not okay. So we must look ourselves full face in the mirror. Let us bind ourselves with the words of Shema. You shall love Hashem, meaning let the name of Hashem become beloved through you. Lead the kind of exemplary life which would contribute to the universal glory and adoration of Hashem, and which would in turn enhance the glory and luster of the Torah, adding respect for the dignity of the Jewish people as a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Mamlechet Kohanim Rigoy Kadosh, that's what it means. That's the Hebrew expression. No whitewashing, no condoning, no apologizing on behalf of the desecrators. So people like to cover up. You hear all these stories of people, like I heard one rabbi was talking about like all these boards in the shul, the board of directors, and usually they're not religious in the shul, and they control everything. Therefore, the rabbi can't be who he's supposed to be, that he'd like to be, because of that. So that's not a good thing. Let us make it clear that anyone who besmirches the sacred name ceases to be our friend. He has unwittingly defected from our ranks and has joined our antagonists to make us all suffer in his wake. So there you go. Very strong as well. And the more prominent a man has become in Orthodox Jewish circles, or Torah observant, the more obligated he must feel to observe the most painstaking scrupulousness in his dealings with the outside world. Meaning, the more you become more religious and more pious, the more you have to be scrupulous in what you're doing in the outside world as well. A Jew cannot choose to follow one set of halachas and disregard another. A Jew dare not be two-faced, meaning you can't say, oh, well, at home I'm religious, a kashrus and sneers, but outside, outside world, at work, I have to do things, cut corners. It's not, you can't do that. Our observance of the Torah and mitzvot is regulated by the Choshen HaMishpat, no less than by the other codes of the Shulchan Aruch. Whoever betrays his loyalty to one portion of the Torah uproots all others. For at the root of Chillul Hashem are gross materialism, blatant selfishness, insatiable love of wealth, and brazen disregard for common decency. Even if strangely enough, as it sometimes happens, those ugly traits go together with excessive charity and benevolence. Meaning, you do all these other things and you make all this money in an unkosher way, and yet you use that and you give tzedakah and you feel like you're a good person, but you're not. So there you go. Even if, we call this type of twisted ethics mitzvah haba ba'avera, i.e. virtue acquired by sin, or a farce. I like that word. That's a strong word. Meaning you do something, you're doing a mitzvah, but by way of a sin, meaning you stole a lot of money or you made money in an unkosher way and then you use that to give tzedakah. Doesn't work. It means playing jokes with the Torah. It is blasphemy and therefore unforgivable. In these unfortunate days, miserable hallmark to the ongoing suffering of the wandering spirit of the Jew, leading up to what has for centuries been known as the climax of national tragedy and desecration of Hashem's honor and glory. It is time to announce as one the hallowed words of Kaddish. May His great name be magnified and sanctified, as well as the call of Kedusha. Let us sanctify your name, meaning Hashem's name, in the world. Let us proclaim loud and clear that we shall have no part of such sickly Yiddishkeit. Our aim is to strive for Kiddush Hashem, and in order to reach this goal, we shall band together and march together, we and our children, with clean hands and pure hearts toward the dawn of Geula speedily in our days. Amen. And I agree with that as well. So this is some strong stuff, and we need to hear this more and more because we need to realize that we have to act a certain way. We're supposed to be Or Lagoyim, a light to the nations. And like you said, Mamlechet Kohanim Goy Kadosh, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. So we can't be doing these things. We have to live, there's only one way. We have to follow the Torah and do Hashem's will, and that we will all merit to live and see the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days and the rebuilding of our final and everlasting Beis HaMikdash. Amen, and thanks for watching.